A train that has been continuously circling the entire Earth for 17 years. And if this train stops, mankind will end. This is a story of the future where 17 years ago from today, to stop the increasing global warming, scientists released an artificial cooling substance named CW7 into Earth's atmosphere. Its purpose was to reduce Earth's temperature, but contrary to this substance cooled Earth's temperature too much, which covered Earth with a thick sheet of ice, and an ice age began on Earth now. Almost all living beings on Earth had ended. But the people who survived this destruction were aboard a train that was built by Wilford Industries before the Ice Age. Its tracks spread 43,800 kilometers far across the world. And this train passed through every country in the world. This train was neither affected by cold nor by heat. It had a special kind of engine installed that generated energy by itself and kept this train running continuously at full speed. At this speed, this train completed one full circle of Earth once a year. However, this train was built for rich people. This train had all the facilities for the comfort and luxury of the rich survivors who boarded this train by paying money were living comfortably in the front part of the train. But poor and middle-class people who boarded this train to save their lives from the cold. Their lives had become worse than animals. They were kept in the back part of the train, meaning the tail section, which was no less than a jail. Neither had beds to sleep on, nor good food to eat. In the name of food, they were given only one protein bar every day for the past 17 years. The lives of tail section people had been passing like hell. However, in the past time, some poor people had revolted against the rich for their rights. But they were all killed at the hands of armed guards present in the train. These guards always kept an eye on the people in the back so that no one could raise their voice against them, but hiding from those guards' eyes, Curtis was preparing for a revolt against the rich once again. Curtis was doing this revolt under the leadership of a man named Gilliam. Curtis wanted to reach the train's engine somehow and take control of the train in his hands. There was someone in that train who was helping them in the attack plan. That person occasionally sent messages to them, hidden in protein bars, and told them about the next plan. Today too, Curtis received another message sent by that unknown person in which he had written the name of a man named Namgung Minsu. Curtis knew that Namgung was a security expert who designed this train security system, but at this time, he was locked in the jail in the front section, and the jail section was 3 compartments ahead of them. Curtis had planned that, when guards came to give them protein bars in the morning, the doors of all 3 front sections of the train were opened, from where the guards came inside. According to Curtis's plan, at that very moment they had to attack the guards and enter the 3rd section and free Namong from jail. After that, Namgung could open the front compartments for them. However, some people were still afraid that they wouldn't be able to withstand the guards' guns. But Curtis was confident that all the guards' bullets were
finished in stopping the previous revolt, and because resources were limited in that train, those guards only kept empty guns to scare them. Meanwhile, in the tail section, there was also a boy named Edgar who considered Curtis his hero and was helping Curtis fully in this work. Curtis had made all the preparations for this revolt. Now he was just waiting for the right moment. During this time, a woman, wearing a yellow coat, came there from the rich people's section. She gathered all the children under the pretense of medical checkup and forcibly selected 2 children according to height and started taking them with her. Then, a child's father angrily threw a shoe at her, which caused blood to come out from that woman's head. But still, that woman smiled and took the children with her. Meanwhile, a woman named Mason came there, who was a high-ranking officer there. Mason gave that helpless father such a punishment for protest that it shook the souls of all the people present there on Mason's orders. The guards took out that man's hand outside the train and froze it in ice, so much that when they struck his hand with a hammer, his hand shattered like glass. That man writhed in pain. Mason once again reminded the poor people that they were there at the mercy of the train's owner, Wilford. So their place would always be under the shoes of the rich. They had no right to protest. This atrocity further ignited the flame of revolt burning inside Curtis and his companions. The next morning, Curtis and his companions were completely ready for the attack. Meanwhile, the guards opened the door and came inside to distribute protein bars. This was the right moment for Curtis to go ahead in the train. But the rest of the people were still afraid of the guards' guns. Then, Curtis came near a guard and put his gun to his own head and pulled the trigger. The guard's gun was indeed empty. Seeing this, all of Curtis's companions pounced on those guards and moved forward with a long pipe made from steel drums, jammed those drums between the doors so that the doors wouldn't close after this. Curtis and his companions, beating the guards, finally reached the jail section. In the jail section, prisoners were kept locked in lockers. Edgar opened Namgung's locker, with the key snatched from the guard. Namgung woke up, mumbling. Namgung was a first-class addict in that train. A drug pill was used, like manure which was made from waste. Factories, That's why those pills were also quite flammable. Namgung was addicted to those very pills. Taking advantage of this, Curtis made a deal with Namgung that if he helped them go forward, he would give him one drug pill in exchange for opening each door. But then, Namgung opened the locker next to him, in which his daughter Yona was also imprisoned. Namgung said, 2 drug pills for both of us, because my daughter will also come along. Curtis agreed to this. Then, with Namgung's help, they opened the train's doors and moved 2 sections further forward, and Namgung started opening the 3rd section, but then Namgung's daughter Yona told them without even opening the door that a man was hanging inside. Then, when the door opened, indeed, a man was hanging there, fixing a machine. This was the food section where protein bars were made for the tail section. The man who made protein bars for them was first in the tail section, but he was a chef. So the train officials put him to work, making protein bars. That chef made protein bars from automatic machines. During this time, Curtis looked into the containers, filled with ingredients, to see what protein bars were made from. And when he looked inside, he felt like vomiting, because those protein bars were made by grinding insects and bugs. However, Curtis thought it better to hide this fact from the others during this time. Curtis saw that the chef was putting that very capsule in a protein bar inside which there used to be messages for them. Curtis threatened the chef and asked, "Do you send us these messages in?" Response. The chef said, "No. Someone leaves this capsule here, and I put it in the protein bar and send it to you." Curtis opened that message and looked at it. It said water. Then Gilliam said, "Maybe our well-wisher is telling us to reach the water supply section on this." The chef said the water supply section is just a few compartments away, where water is filtered and recycled. Gilliam said further, "Water section is the most important part of this train. If we capture it, it means the pulse of the rich will be in our hands then. We won't even need to go to the train's engine. We can shut off the rich people's water and get our demands fulfilled from them." Hearing this, everyone's morale became even higher. Then moving forward with Namgung's help, they reached the water section's door, and Namgung started opening that water section's door. During this time, Curtis asked Yona what is behind the door. "How do you know?" This then Yona saw something. She ran towards the door and said, "Don't open the door," but by then it was too late. Namgung had opened the door. Then, seeing the scene ahead, Curtis and his companions' steps faltered, because in that section, many guards were standing with axes in their hands, like their death. But Curtis was also not one to back down in fear. Seeing Curtis' courage awakened in the others too. With this, a fierce confrontation occurred between the 2 groups. Both groups started killing and cutting each other mercilessly, but then an officer of the train came there and shouted on the loudspeaker, "Stop all of you! We are about to pass through Yekaterina Bridge." Hearing this, all the people stopped, and the guards started a countdown. As their countdown finished, the train touched Yekaterina Bridge. All the guards shouted Happy New Year. Actually, that train ran continuously at a specific speed, which meant it always passed through Yekaterina Bridge at the end of the year. From this, the people in the train knew that the new year had come. But this new year also brought danger for them, because every year rock-hard ice layers would freeze on Yekaterina Bridge's tracks, which would give the train a strong jolt when it collided with them. But that train was so strong that it would break through the ice rocks and pass through. Similarly, that train was passing through breaking rocks, which made all the people bend down to avoid the jolt. But there Namgung was showing his daughter Yona the outside view with this. The train crossed the bridge and the danger passed. As soon as the danger passed, fighting started again between the 2 groups. But meanwhile, Mason came there. She stopped the fight and said to Curtis and his people, "You lowly people have no appreciation for our great Wilford's mercy. Remember when you people were dying of hunger, great Wilford gave you food and shelter, and now you are revolting against him. Now as punishment 74% of you people will be killed." Then Curtis threw an axe at Mason, but one of her guards stopped this attack with a hammer. Mason said angrily, "Fool! Now all of you will die." Saying this, Mason and all the guards wore night vision glasses, because after Yekaterina Bridge the train passed through a tunnel. But Curtis and his companions didn't know this, because Curtis and his companions had always lived in the closed compartments of the train. Meanwhile, the train entered the tunnel, and pitch darkness spread everywhere. Taking advantage of the darkness, the guards started killing Curtis's companions. Curtis and his companions were swinging axes, without seeing in order to survive. No one could understand how to face the guards without light. Then Curtis shouted to his companions, "Send word back. We need torches." Hearing him, that man, whose hand was cut off, ran towards them with a torch. They lit many torches one after another, which brought light back to the train's compartment, and Curtis. His companions pounced on the guards again. Seeing this, Mason started to run away from there. But then, Curtis threw a knife and hit her leg, and she fell down. But she crawled, trying to reach the switch to close that train compartment's door. Seeing this, Curtis ran towards her to stop her, but then a voice came from behind Curtis. "Help me!" Behind a guard had put a knife to Edgar's neck, but at that moment, Curtis only thought about his goal and leaving Edgar to die. He went and caught Mason out of fear of death. Mason told her guards to stop fighting, after which Curtis's companions captured all the guards now. The water section was under Curtis and his companions' control. Curtis threatened Mason and said, "Call your boss Wilford, otherwise you will die. But along with that, we will also stop your people's water on this." Mason said, "It seems you all have a misunderstanding, because water doesn't come from here, but from the front, just as an elephant draws water with its trunk. Similarly, this train draws ice from the front part and keeps converting it into water. Look, whatever you do, Wilford won't come here, but if you spare my life, I will take you to the engine where Wilford lives." Curtis agreed to this. He said to Gilliam, "Now, Mason is with us, so our path will become easier. You stay in this section with the others. I'll go ahead from here with some people and capture the engine and contact you, then you will lead us." Hearing this, Gilliam said, "Okay, but do one thing for me as soon as you catch Wilford. Cut his tongue, don't even give him a chance to speak." With this decision, Curtis moved forward with Mason and some people now. From there ahead, the rich people section started. They were feeding insects and bugs to the tail section people. But for them, fruits and vegetables were grown in the train itself. Also, there was a big fish aquarium in one section, and ahead there was also a meat section. Crossing it, they came to a school section where a pregnant teacher was teaching children there. Children were told the history of Wilford's great deeds every day, and shown on TV how Wilford, who played with toy trains in childhood, started Wilford Industries when he grew up, and invented this never-stopping luxury train engine. However, before the Ice Age, the whole world considered Wilford's invention useless. But today, his very invention has saved mankind also. Like every day, the teacher told the children that this train should never stop, otherwise its engine will freeze in the cold, and if this train doesn't start again, all the people will die. Meanwhile, the children's lunchtime came, and a man came there with a cart full of eggs, seeing which all the children jumped with joy, because eggs had now become a very precious thing. That's why rich people were also given eggs only on the occasion of New Year. That man distributing eggs handed the teacher a basket full of eggs, and also gave Curtis an egg along with the others. Then, he went to the back sections to distribute eggs among Curtis's other companions. Then, Curtis saw that a message capsule was hidden in that egg. When Curtis opened it and looked, it said blood. Meanwhile, on the other side, that man distributing eggs took out a gun hidden among the eggs and started firing indiscriminately at all of Curtis's companions. Meanwhile, on that side, the teacher also took out a gun from the basket and riddled one of Curtis's companions with bullets. She started firing at Curtis and his other companions too, but then one of Curtis's companions threw a knife and finished that teacher's work. But now that gun had fallen into Mason's hands, but before Mason could fire the gun, Curtis also finished her off on the other side. In the back compartments, that man distributing eggs overturned his cart. It was filled with many guns. He freed all the guards, after which the guards started selectively killing Curtis's companions. Then, the TV screen of Curtis's section turned on. It was showing CCTV footage of the previous section. In that footage, the guard's leader had also put Gilliam to death. Seeing this, Curtis's blood boiled. He picked up a gun and moved forward with the remaining companions. But now that guard's leader was behind Curtis in the front section, rich people were living lives full of pomp and show. They were looking at Curtis and his companions with hateful eyes. Curtis passed through them and reached a spa section, but then the guard's leader also reached them and started raining bullets on them. He finished all of Curtis's companions, but Curtis, Namgung, and Yona escaped by killing him and reached the front section where junkies were gathered there. Rich people were lying drugged out. Namgung and Yona picked up many of their drug pills also. They stole their warm clothes. Then finally they reached the engine cabin inside, which Wilford was present. Upon reaching there, Yona became unconscious from drugs. Meanwhile, Curtis, mad with anger, started banging on the door asking Namgung to open it quickly, but Namgung calmed him down somehow and asked, "Why are you so desperate to reach Wilford on this?" Curtis said disappointedly, "You can't understand my condition because you have never lived in the tail section 18 years ago from today, when thousands of us helpless people boarded this train to save our lives. Wilford indeed gave us shelter here, but the next day that bastard sent his guards who snatched all the food and water we had and imprisoned us like animals in the back part of the train. After a few days, people crazed with hunger started eating weak people themselves. You don't know, but I hate myself because I was also one of those people who were eating human flesh to stay alive. There was a woman there who had hidden her child from us, but I killed that woman with a knife and snatched her child and was about to feast on that child with the others. But then an old man came there. He asked me for the knife. We thought he would kill that child himself, but he cut off one of his own hands with a knife and giving us that hand, said, 'If you are hungry, eat this, but leave that child.' Hearing him, all the people put down their knives. That old man was none other than Gilliam, and the child we were about to eat was Edgar. I was the one who killed Edgar's mother since then until today. I have been living in regret." Saying this, Curtis's eyes filled with tears. Curtis said further, after starving us for about a month, That bastard Wilford also sent protein bars made from insects and bugs for us, which we have been eating till now. Why, for 18 years the fire of hatred for Wilford has been smoldering inside me, and now I have got a chance to reach him. So please, open this door. But Namgung, said Curtis, I want to open the door, not to Wilford's cabin, but the outside door, which has been sealed for 18 years, because I want to get out of here. This Curtis said. Do you want to freeze to death in the cold outside on this? Namgung said. You know I have been watching Yekaterina Bridge for 18 years. There is a crashed plane down there which is buried in ice. Every time I could see the back part of that plane slightly, but this time I could see more than half of the plane. This means changes are coming in the atmosphere, and the ice is melting now. There is no deadly cold outside. If we go out wearing warm clothes, we won't freeze in the ice. But Curtis felt that Namgung's mind had gone then. Namgung joined those drug pills together and made a bomb by putting a wick in it because those drug pills were also explosive, so Namgung was going to blow up the train's door with it, but they only had one matchstick left, which was with Curtis, but Curtis refused to give it to Namgung. Then suddenly, a woman came out from Wilford's cabin and shot Namgung. This was the same woman who initially took away 2 children from the tail section, that woman said to Curtis, our great Wilford is happy to see you here. He has invited you for dinner. Saying this, that woman brought Curtis into the cabin and closed the door again. Inside there Wilford was comfortably cooking food. Wilford said to Curtis, how are you, my child? You are the first person to reach here from the tail section. I am quite impressed with you on this. Curtis said, what right do you have to play with the lives of us poor helpless people? You are giving the rich a life of comfort and luxury, and treating the poor like animals. Wilford said, look, Curtis, everyone's place in this train was already decided. And the truth is that we are all imprisoned in this train. There is such a shortage of resources in this train that we cannot give equal rights to everyone here. It is necessary to maintain control over food, water, and population, and for this we have to take strict measures. Do you want to know how we keep the population controlled then, just as your people prepare for war? Similarly, we also prepare people from the front section to fight against you. Both groups fight each other, and the population decreases. Gilliam's and my plan has been working well till now, but now you have failed it. Hearing this, Curtis was shocked. He asked Gilliam, and your plan? Wilford said, haven't you figured it out yet? Gilliam and I were partners. We did this work together. The messages you used to get, I was the one sending them. Every time when the population in the train increased, I would send messages to Gilliam to revolt. Then, Gilliam would ignite the fire of revolt among you people, according to that message on one side. Gilliam would prepare you people for war from the tail section, while on the other side, my people would prepare people from the front section for war against you. Then, both groups would fight and die among themselves this way. Gilliam and I, both of us together, kept the train's population controlled. Hearing this, Curtis couldn't believe his ears. Wilford said further, there was an agreement between Gilliam and me that he would never let the tail section people reach the front section. However, till now this was happening, but this time, you have managed to enter the front section with your bravery, and because of you, the front section has also suffered a lot of damage. That's why Gilliam had to pay the price for this by dying. However, now another person of ours has taken Gilliam's place. Hearing this, Curtis had become very disappointed. Wilford said to him, Curtis, I have become old now and I want someone to handle this train in my place. Gilliam had told me that you are very smart and courageous, and I have seen this too. So I want you to handle this train in my place. Hearing this, Curtis fell into thought during this time. On the other side, those junky rich people had attacked Namgung and Yona. Namgung was engaged in dealing with them, and Yona was trying to open Wilford's chamber, so that she could get the matchstick from Curtis and blow up the train's door. Then, Yona opened the door. Seeing this, that woman came out from inside with a gun, but Yona, hidden behind the door, killed her and put her to death. After this, Yona went to get the matchstick from Curtis, but Curtis, falling for Wilford's words, had agreed to take the responsibility of the train. He pushed Yona back. Then, Yona saw something on the ground below. She started removing a tile from below with the help of a spoon. Then, as soon as she removed the tile, she and Curtis were stunned to see below a child was working like a mechanical part. This was the same child that woman had brought away initially. Wilford said to Curtis, are you surprised? Actually, this train needs parts, and we can't make new parts here, thanks to you tail section. People who don't fall short in producing children, because only children can fit in this small space. That's why we need children here. Seeing this brutality of Wilford, Curtis beat Wilford to death in anger. After this, he gave the matchstick to Yona, and putting his hand between the running machine, took out that child. But in this process, Curtis's own hand got cut off during this time. On the other side, Yona lit the bomb and hid in Wilford's chamber, holding that child before the explosion. Namgung tried to close the chamber's door. But there was a malfunction in the door switch. Seeing this, Curtis and Namgung held Yona and the child and covered them with this. A tremendous explosion occurred in the train, which blew the train door to pieces. However, the train's engine was still safe and sound, and the train was still running at full speed. But at that time, the train was passing through an ice mountain. From the explosion in the train, an avalanche came on that mountain. That ice avalanche collided with the train, which derailed the train. The front part of the train entered a tunnel ahead and got destroyed, while the back part fell several feet down into a gorge. In this accident, all the people in the train died, but luckily, thanks to Curtis and Namgung's sacrifice, Yona and that small child survived safely. Both of them wearing warm clothes came out of the train. Then Yona saw a polar bear there. That means Namgung's words came true now. There was no deadly cold on Earth, and life had started to flourish again. Yona moved forward with that child in search of a new shelter, and with this film ended right here. Like and subscribe to Movie 2 Clips for more best videos.